something a little bit different than breakfast this morning, and you may wonder why I'm wearing this strange cap. It's because I was in the Korean War, and this was the cap that I wore there, and this is going to be a Korean breakfast. Now, I was in a strange outfit in Korea, and it shows on this cap. I was drafted in the Army and put into the Corps of Engineers, what they call aviation engineers, ones that built airstrips, airports, and things like that. Then as soon as we were out of basic training, they shipped the whole company over to the Air Force. So we got Air Force markings to go on our caps. And that distinguished what we were, even though we were only about 2,000 of us in the entire Korean War. And it only lasted, the assignment only lasted just under 5 years until they completely dissolved it as a bad idea, and that was it. But let's get into making breakfast this morning. Most apartments in Korea, especially in the big towns, are about the size of a college dorm room, and they are very limited on the facilities that they provide in them. About the only thing that's in the so-called kitchen, which is nothing but a short sink or countertop, is a sink for washing the dishes and electrical plugs to where you can plug in a toaster oven or a microwave. And as far as anything cooked on top of the stove, you have to furnish your own as a rule. And these little one-burner propane or butane stoves are very popular. And that's what I'm going to use in this. Something else, I'd had this little pan for years, don't know where it came from or how I came to have it, but it's kind of an odd little skewer, but it was big enough to make a can of soup or warm something like that, so I've used it over the years, usually to make a small amount of gravy or something like that. But in doing research for this video, I found out what it was. It's actually a ramen noodle cooker, and everybody over there has one. So this breakfast calls for ramen noodles, and I'll put the water on to, turn that on. Yep, it's on. Turn it down to about halfway, and put on 2 cups of water to come to a boil. But in the meantime, I need to tell you a war story. It's not any shooting or anything like that. It's just about 2 years that I spent doing odd, stupid things for the military. As I said, I was in the aviation engineers, and we built runways in Korea. And my job was construction supervisor or construction inspector. I had to go from job to job to job and figure out how the progress was coming along and make reports and all that. And during the summer of '52, they assigned me a young Korean man. Seemed like a boy to me, looked like he's about 18 years old, as a driver and interpreter. And he was in the Korean military academy. And during the summer, they assigned them, the various students there, to American units, first to learn the way and the other to learn the language and all that. And it's kind of funny on learning that. One day he came up to me and said, "Sergeant Foreman, what is egg white?" And I said, "What is egg white?" And he said, "Yes." And I said, "Spell it." And he said, E-G-Y-P-T. But at any rate, I didn't let him drive. He was a madman behind the wheel. He'd have killed us over there on those little roads. But anyway, about 25 or 30 years later, when I was in Colorado, connected with the glider port up there, and we often had visitors come over from the Air Force Academy to see our operation. And one day these Korean officers showed up, and I noticed this one fellow kept looking at me, and finally he said, "Are you Mr. Foreman?" And I said, "Yes, I am." He said, "I'm Kim. I was your driver in Korea." And he is now a brigadier general. So I guess he did very well in the military. Well, the water is boiling now, so let's get on with this. So the first thing I'll do is open the ramen noodles here. They got the chicken flavor. By the way, they have several different flavors of noodles in Korea. The clock's telling me it's about 15 after 7, and getting along toward time for breakfast. This is getting very, very, very obstinate. There, it's broke loose. And you'll notice this packet of noodles just exactly fits in the pan. There's a get this flavor packet out of here. Turn this down a little, it's a little bit high. As I said, they had several flavors. They have chicken and oriental, and they have beef flavor. But the most popular one over there is spicy. And they have 2 levels of that. They have just plain spicy, and then they have 2x spicy like this package here. I think the bird on it is supposed to tell you how happy you'll be after you eat those. But I'm going to let this cook now a couple of minutes to cook the noodles. And speaking of noodles, I was in a little hotel in Seoul one night, and about 4 in the morning I was woke up by a funny little whistle doing a little strange tune. And it whistled over and over and over. And the next morning I asked the guy there at the hotel, what was that strange whistling at 4 o'clock in the morning? He says, "Oh, that's the noodle man." And I said, "Well, what do you mean noodle man?" And he says, "It's a man that comes around selling noodles." And I said, "Well, why does he come at 4 in the morning?" And he says, "That's when the people buy the noodles." And I said, "Why do people buy noodles at 4 o'clock in the morning?" And he says, "That's when the noodle man comes." Now, I wasn't going to follow that dog any further. Okay. Put in the flavor packet now. By the way, those spicy noodles, there's no way I could eat those. They set your shorts on fire. Let that cook a little bit longer there. Final part of it is you break an egg, right in the middle of it, and put the lid on. Turn the burner out, and we'll let it rest about 2 or 3 minutes and it'll be done. Okay, it's been about 2 or 3 minutes. Check this. Yeah, that egg looks just the way I like my eggs. So now I'll put it in a bowl and have breakfast. Okay, there it is. And garnish it with some green onions. That's always the Norman, Korea, and there's breakfast.